Started my journey of crossing the border alone with my children as my husband was in hiding. After coming here in the camp, I joined WPP and gained so much confidence as a women's leader in my community. I have learned valuable skills such as stitching, painting, and most importantly, public speaking. Initially, I used to feel shy, but through attending monthly consultations and conducting awareness sessions with the women in my community, I gained confidence in public speaking. I have excelled in public speaking to the point where other organizations invite me to be a speaker as a women leader at their events. Through a women-led project, with support from the site management staff, we provided culinary items to alleviate the burden on the bride's family during weddings in my camp. I have a personal motivation for my dedication towards WPP. I helped my uncle secure special services and aids for his 2 children with disabilities. The ability to positively impact people's lives and ensure that vulnerable members of my community receive the assistance they need is what truly drives and satisfies me. This is the driving factor behind my dedication to WPP.
That's a very nice
over to Elena.
Tadeo. Thank you so much for sharing. So now we'll move to the PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, I just wanted to say a few words on the WPP that is mentioned in the video before leaving the floor to the amazing team in Bangladesh that will explain some of the activities that have been doing with art and storytelling. So the Women Participation Project is a flagship initiative that helps CCM practitioners and other partners working in camps to understand what are the barriers and conducive factor to women and girls participation and design context-specific strategies and activities that can support their participation and their engagement in camp governance and in the delivery of humanitarian assistance. You see here our phased approach that is engraved in a thorough baseline assessment and data-driven approach that starts from the inception phase, where we conduct a baseline to understand what are the barriers and conducive factors I mentioned, and then maintain a very strict participatory approach through the design phase, where we consult women and girls to understand the activities that they want to do and prioritize. And you saw some of the activities in the video, and then through the implementation and the evidence and learning. So I'm very happy to be here with you today. If you have more questions on the global project, the WPP project that has been ongoing since 2016, I'm leaving the link to our website in the chat. And Bangladesh has been one of the countries that has had the WPP activities continuing for the longest, and they've done really some outstanding work. And today they're just focusing on one of many outstanding initiatives that they have been implemented for the displaced women and girls in the in Cox's Bazar camps. So over to the Cox's Bazar team.
Thank you, Elena, for the introduction. I'm going to also put the document for the Women's Participation Project in the chat. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Elena, and thank you, Noob, and the colleagues that have managed to attend today. I will speak briefly, but then pass it on to my colleague Namrata, who will take us fully into the presentation. One, we are honored that at least one of our innovations here under WPP has been picked up as a worthy product to be shared globally with everyone. The journey here, and I speak from a position of privilege, having been here at least in the early 2018, just a few months after the onset of the crisis, and now being back 7 years after the crisis began. I speak from a point of having seen the transition in mindset, but also in the change of culture, and also the increase in the participation of women. For some of you that may be aware or not aware of the context here, it is the Rohingya largely from the Muslim community, and they share similar sentiments like any other Muslim community where the women or women's voices are hardly heard in communities. It was a challenge that we faced here when the response began. But I can tell you that 7 years after, now in the 8th year, this has majorly changed. This did not just happen out of the blue, but it took numerous efforts, and projects such as the WPP played a very great role in contributing towards this. We can tell you with confidence that at least we have recorded an increase not only in the esteem, self-esteem of the women, but also their participation in the community. And they are doing a lot from soft components such as awareness sessions, but also into hard components such as construction. We are working with them inside government works, where we are seeing now women take up drastic roles due to some of these interventions. I will give it to Namrata now, and also Johannes is in the room, who will support with the presentation, and then we can answer your questions later on. Over to you, Namrata.
Thank you so much, Manuel, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to share our journey of preparing and presenting Unbroken with everyone. Okay. So, as you know, Unbroken is a story of like a collection of inspiring stories by the members of Women's Participation Project in the Rohingya response by IOM. So let me take you through the methodology, which was very simple because so here, as you know, WPP is operational in the Bangladesh mission since 2018 and has been expanded to all 17 IOM camps in this response. So we had so much, so many inspiring women, so many inspiring stories. And for a long time, we were thinking of compiling them and share with the world, the story of these amazing women. So the purpose for us to have this one is first one I said to highlight the impact of WPP initiatives and the lives of the women. But then also we have realized that whenever we try to showcase about projects, we always, through stories, we always focus on how the project have impacted their life or what change it has brought. But oftentimes we tend to forget that the women also have their own stories, they are an individual, they have their own journey, own emotions. So through this book, we also tried to, our purpose was to focus on how that person is as an individual, how was her childhood, how did she got married, what was her favorite memory from Myanmar, and obviously the atrocities that they have faced, along with how WPP has brought a change into their life. So currently we have 1,955 women committee members here in all 17 camps. So it's not possible to bring everyone's story there. So we had few criteria for selection, and our camp focal persons, WPP focal persons, they have helped us. So one of our criteria was that, members who are part of WPP, according to the TOR that we have for WPP. And then also like individuals who have demonstrated strong commitment to the community, irrespective of age and diversity. And also like those who have conducted activities that would inspire other women. And here I would try to, I would like to clarify that all of them are inspiring, but not everyone shared the same pace. So we thought to select women and to share stories because everyone has potential. So, to share the inspiring stories of their fellow community women so that they can realize their potential and they also, try to motivate themselves. And at some point, we also thought to include WPP volunteers, who are also from the community, who is part of site management team and who works with the women. So when we talked with them, they also shared that, working with this big group of women, we also feel some change. We also see some change. And in the Unbroken, we'll see that we have a volunteer, Asmida, who is now studying somewhere. So that is how the idea of including the WPP volunteers came on. So the total story collection duration was 1.5 months, as we said, 17 camps, a lot of stories. So it took us 1.5 months. And for the locations, we tried to ensure that we are having the interview in a place which ensure privacy and where the women would be able to speak freely without any kind of external interruption. It is very important because, as Emmanuel mentioned, that the community, they have certain religious and cultural norms, and it's not easy for the women to speak everywhere. And in camp, it's really difficult to ensure such places. But yes, our site management colleagues and everyone ensured that for us. And the average duration of each and every interview was like 45 to 50 minutes. So for the story collection process, obviously the first thing that we did was to take informed consent. That's very, very important. And then we focused on their personal journey. And the first task from our side was to create an environment of trust, respect, and ease, because it's not easy for them to open up. So we have to do that. Before starting the interview, we actually had a lot of discussion, like how you started your day, what have you cooked today, has your children went to school or not, how is it? So with that kind of question, we had to easen them up. And another process, another thing that we followed during the story collection process was, during the interview, we tried least to interrupt them, just to let them flow, whatever they are sharing, because it was our job to pick the information out of there, but we let the women speak, whatever they wanted to share. Because I remember one of the women was sharing, life history of her distant cousin. And I'm like, yeah, say, because it's important for them to let speak up, because when they were speaking up, after some times, I needed the information that was required to present their stories. So for the story writing, one thing, in this era where social media is so popular and everyone has a attention span of 30 seconds. So it was very difficult for us to think of how to present something which would not get boring. So initially, our plan was to compile all the stories together, which was like 40, 50 stories together, and then share them in one series, together. But then we realized that it would become very boring. So that's when we thought that why don't we do series, because we want to do justice to everyone. We want everyone to read the book. So we shortlisted 10 stories for the series one. And another thing that we kept in mind is none of the stories should be more than 5 minutes read. Like every story should be a 5-minute read. We kept that timing in mind also. And then came design. So yes, I think we were very sure that we want a very vibrant, colorful, because sometimes when we are presenting stories about refugees or displaced people, we tend to go to like dark colors. But as much as these women have painful past, which they have very painful, but then, the way they have risen as phoenix from the ashes. So we wanted to celebrate that aspect, that they face challenge. Yes, they have taken in up front, and then they are a fighter and they are so inspiring. So we wanted it to be very, very bubbly. So which is why we went for pastel shades, and because it represents optimism and there is simplicity, there is nostalgia, because we were also sharing how their life was back in Myanmar. So that was our theme for the design. So we have got a lot of question about why we have chosen illustration. So one of the reason was that most of the women are not comfortable showing their faces. Even if they show, they always hide their faces. So that was one of the reservation from their sides. And another thing was the aesthetics of the book, because we wanted to look it different, and we
I
wanted to
love the
look it different.
design. So nice. Is
Yeah,
the banner
thank you.
behind you a part of the work? The poster
Sorry?
behind you?
It's
Yeah, we will be talking about this very shortly.
Wonderful.
It's also by the community. So yeah, Emmanuel said that I don't have time anymore. So lessons learned from here is to conduct research about the community, because whenever you go and speak to a community which is so rigid, especially the women who are so rigid to speak, if you have some reference points like this place, this food, something, if you can mention from their culture, they really is enough. That is what we have learned. And then it is also important from the very beginning to set a clear vision and aim, like what we want from this project, because this project was so fast and forward, because all of us was on the same page. We knew that we want it to happen. So it is very important that we all are on the same page. And then, keeping it very simple, because sometimes we feel that complex sentence means it's a great thing, but it's not, because we are trying to reach a wide variety of audiences. So that is one of the thing. And another thing, most importantly, is that before going for the bulk printing, we printed a sample copy, and then we went to all the women. We went to all the women and showed them how this stories was, what we have written. If they have any problem, we can make changes. So that is what I have done. So after having a second round of consent, then we went for bulk printing. And when you are planning to do a series, I think it's very important to keep few extra stories in hand, because in our case, one of the stories that we selected when we were reconfirming with her, we saw that the women is not in the camp anymore. She was shifted to somewhere else through the resettlement program. So yeah, and then
Did you use the real names of the women? Sorry.
yes.
Oh, they
And with
accepted
their
to share
consent.
the real names.
Yes,
Amazing.
with their consent. Yeah. And then if you are planning to do targeted photography, which we did for our project, we used few photographs which were from the previous activities, but then we also did some targeted photography. So if you are planning to do that, you need to have the stories in hand. So few challenges that we have, I think all of us know that language can be a significant barrier. And if you are speaking the same language, it can be a barrier. And then for the writer, like the dilemma of which information to keep, because we all want to do justice to the stories, but which one to keep and which information to give up, I think it's a very big dilemma. And then sometimes this kind of interview gets very emotionally heavy for the one who's taking the interview and the one that is giving. So to flip from that, to manage that situation. So it's very important that you're mentally prepared for that. And then few others are one of the things from the writer's perspective is for our kind of work and organization, we actually have to go through a lot of review processes. And sometimes for that, within that process, we actually tend to lose the essence of the story. So it's very important. The review is important, but then to keep the writer in loop at every stages. Can we take 5 more minutes?
I'm enjoying this so much, so I couldn't
Okay,
really
and yeah, okay,
notice
so
the
the
time.
last challenge is creative writing and design. It's an ongoing process because creative thinking has no end. So it's very important for us to understand where we will be stopping, where we should stop, because you can always make it better, but at some point we have to stop. So I think this is one of the challenges. It's for us to decide. And then we have, now we are going to talk about the project that gave us these wonderful artworks. So as you can see, we have this beautiful space in one of our camps, which we are currently calling Art Space. So how that came was that the youth artist once told us that they don't have a space where they can draw and they can share their stories, but they have so much to do for their community. So from that thought, we started this project. So Affiliation was our technical partner for this project, and so the art space that we are talking about, it's in Camp 11, and we have an exhibition center there. So to exhibit, we did a project in all 17 camps where both youth and WTP members came together to share their stories. So these are a few of the photographs from that project, like the youth and the women when they were. Uh, very shortly, one of the takeaway from that project was when we were doing it, we knew that this project would be speaking the thoughts and the stories of the Rohingya community. But after a while, we realized that actually through the art, they are sharing the most prevalent and most burning issues in the camp, like child marriage, human trafficking. And as a site management team, we do receive this kind of issues, challenges. But the way they have put it through arts, I think that that was just different. It just gave you a very deep dive into their life, into the struggle that they are facing. So yeah, that is something we have realized, that actually this project can be a place where they can come and tell what they are unable to tell others with arts. So this is one of the quotes from the yacht artist, because he was saying that I can draw a whole day if I have a space like this. And I think that is what we were trying to create. So yes. And then we have some pictures from the kind of activities. We will just quickly go through in 10 seconds with the WPP members. So thank you so much. Thank you for the extra time.
I think Pooja joined us.
Really?
Thank you so much. I love this. Now, before we move to the Q&A, if that's okay for me to ask you to very briefly tell me about one story that that you really liked. So we would give the participants here an idea about the style of the story telling that you do.
I'll share a story that you really like. Then we'll give the participants
Any story that you like from
From the book, you can't ask the mother who is the best child. Every story is awesome, but I think no, it's very difficult to choose. But I think Asmita's story, because I have worked with her, I have met her. I know how much she wanted to study. And then when she got the chance to study, like, I have seen her struggles and that one. But then we have there another story of Fatima, who is a tailor, and people from faraway camps come to her for tailoring during Eid or any program. So that is also another favorite, but all are my favorite.
Thanks so much for sharing. Does anyone have questions for the speakers here? This is your chance. So until someone on the chat or raise their hand, I'm actually curious to know, like, how for men in the community to to create this project. Did they have any objection at some point? Who were the interviewers for the stories? Were they only women or men? How did that go?
Just to be clear, you want to know the stance of the community towards participating in the story writing?
Yeah, like how did the, let's say, husbands, brothers, fathers take it? Were they open to share their women's story or not?
All right. Largely, from the cultural perspective, there were a few incidents that some of the participants were initially identified not coming forward because their husbands were not so much in support of them sharing these stories. We understand this because we went into a psychological space when we're not psychologists ourselves. We're trying to take people back into painful memories, which was kind of a hard ask on their part. And it took courage for those that I would say have somehow managed to deal with the situation to share the stories that they have. But also when you look at it, I think there was also the feeling of there is no closure in whatever we are going to share. What is the outcome of this? There is one particular story that caught my attention of, I think Namrata, you can remind of the lady, the one whose daughter is in Singapore.
Malaysia.
Malaysia. If you read such a story, you find it so difficult to go back to this person because their daughter is still in prison in I think Singapore, Malaysia, and there is nothing we can offer to solve such a situation. But yet she's here sharing this story, however painful it is. And the question in our mind that lingers is, I have told you, then what next? So some of these made it very difficult for some of them to come up and share. But I think also the memories that come with it. And of course, the other family members that may not be very comfortable having these stories shared because loved ones lost their lives in the process. And it is painful to recollect such moments. Yeah.
If I may add, Noor, so in the camp, I mean, initially, if you see our WPP baseline and progress evaluation report, so initially it was very difficult, but over time there have been engagement with husbands, engagement with male family members, religious community leaders. So as Emmanuel said, in few cases, we did face some, restrictions from the family side, but widely they were very open. I mean, that's how we got all these beautiful stories.
Yeah.
Plus, it was how it was collected. It was only you, female.
Okay, so for the next part, yes, all the interview was done by me, and it was only a female only setup. I mean, the interview we were all female. The person, the volunteers who supported me, they were also female, and I was taking the interview. So like we have to create that safe space for them to come out and pour their heart.
Wonderful, thank you. So next question is from Thomas. He doesn't have a good internet, so I'm gonna read his question out loud. So facilitating sessions and activities like this is a very specific skill and different to a lot of the other facilitation that is done by teams working on community engagement. So do you have any wisdom to share with us about how you train these teams working on this? But from what you just said, it was like doing the interviewing was something that you've done on your own, and then the rest was done by the team. How did you work on this?
Okay, so I think one of the advantage was that the story collection, writing and design was done by me. So one of the good point was that I had this whole vision. But then it's a teamwork. Emmanuel is very good in creative writing. I also come from journalism background, so and Johannes also had like amazing observation, and we also had our colleague Pooja. Like she was very passionate about WPP. So I think we all had our individual different specialization, but when we came together, um, yeah, it created magic. But there was no training. I think it's just our passion. And one of the thing was the teamwork. Like whenever I needed review from Emmanuel, he was heads on. Like I said in the evening that you need to review this one, and the next morning I had the review and his comments. Same goes for Johannes. And then in few points where I needed their support, for some kind of formation and this thing, and like they physically went there and like release this for us. So yeah, it was a team effort. So the wisdom is, as we have shared, that to have an agreed aim and objective about the project, so that whenever the teamwork is necessary, everyone comes up and steps up.
Just let me add on that, Nuru. I think the lessons learned captures some of the pre-work that was put in to make this a little bit easier. Understanding the community's culture, history, it makes you a little bit aware of the people that you're going to talk to and the subject that you're going to engage. And I think the other thing that you also see in there that you need to work with the staff or the team that understands the emotional burden that they're going to encounter when they are interviewing some of these beneficiaries. In such moments, sometimes you find people breaking down and not being able to continue with the work at hand. But all that needs to be made known to them before they get to what they're supposed to be doing. Yes, but also building that trust and rapport. As I say, it's a psychological space that we are venturing in. It takes trust for someone to open up and share some of those deep, dark moments that they have gone through, not as individuals, but also families. So that trust is very important before you have that story shared with you. So those are some of the few tips that the team here, led by Namrata, had to do in the camps.
Thanks a lot for sharing. So we have Emina Nur.
Thanks, Nur.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm good to see you too. I'm very happy to be here. Like I worked in Cox's Bazar before, and I'm so happy to see my colleagues that are doing amazing job. And it's such an emotional also session for me to be here. It's Emmy from IOM CCCM Mozambique. So we are doing a similar activity under our WPP as well here in Mozambique. It's a bit different. We are doing it more like definitely shorter term workshop format that women can express themselves with either very short stories, painting, or music and dance. But I learned a lot from your presentation, so I'm so happy to be joining this one. My question is actually a bit similar to Tom's, but a bit more specific. I'm wondering if you collaborated with Protection or MHPSS for this one specifically, because in our experience, it was it's really required for our teams to have very clear guidelines and them to be very aware of also protection standards that we have and referral pathways as well, because in some of the stories, some things might come up that would require some protection assistance or MHPSS support, obviously with the consent of the participant. But I'm wondering if there was any collaboration with those units specifically. Thank you.
That's a good question.
All right. Thank you, Emmanuel, for the question. We, other than the usual engagement we have with protection in the camp, for this specific story, exercise, we did not have them on board. But I get what you're saying, the sensitivities that may come out of that. But perhaps we're looking more at, since our entry point was a team that we already work with, that is the WPP, we felt we're more familiar to them than protection. So I think that was the point of confidence with which we had to engage them independently. But yes, such an exercise, if it would require the wider community, I agree with you that indeed it would always be good to have that collaboration just to ensure that unpleasant surprises are dealt with at a certain point. Yeah.
Just to add it, right? Yeah, maybe just to add a point for Emmanuel's question. In all WPP activities that we are implementing in Cox's Bazar, there was a strong coordination with protection. But when going for this storybook, yeah, that is something we'll be looking into. But in every other aspect, the coordination for trainings to build the capacity of women and adolescent girls, we have been strongly coordinating with protection and MHPSS. But for the storybooks, yeah, not well taken. Thanks.
And also maybe I would just like to add a bit is that in WPP program, I mean, it's a very mature program in Bangladesh running for a very long time. And we do have these, whenever we onboard women committee members, there are few trainings that is a must for them. So one is like self-wellness, self-wellness and self-well-being training. And then we give them general protection training, child protection and counter-trafficking training, and then GBV trainings. So these are the few things that we provide to them at the very beginning of their membership. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Two more questions. So let's stick to the time. Sonia is asking, thanks for sharing this great project. Congratulations. Could you please share how you plan to spread these stories now? And these stories now that they are collected so beautifully. So how do you plan to spread these stories now that they are collected so beautifully? Do you have like a dissemination plan? Further to what you've already mentioned, like on social media, we could also support with that. Like if, like we can put it on our LinkedIn and in our social media platforms.
Circulation of the stories, I think that's already being done. With the support of colleagues at HQ, I think we shared with them and I think it's circulated. But also in country, our PSU unit circulated it when we finalized the book a few months ago. So it's already in circulation and it can be found, I think, on Relief Web and IOM Bangladesh page. But also
Global WPP. website. But just to add with Emmanuel, so along with that, as you have seen, like we have made an animation today because now we have planned to share these stories with the community, but these text heavy books may be a bit difficult for them. So going down the line, we do have to turn these stories into multiple audiovisual contents, which is suitable for tabs, radio. So we have planned for that. And like one of the things was like the animation that we did today, something which anyone can easily understand. And then we have planned to turn such animations using, to dub them in Rohingya language and show to other women, which we have done previously for other things. So yeah, that is how we are planning to circulate. And then of course, this forum can also support us in circulating them.
Sure, we'd love to. Just going back at a previous question here. So Ali is asking if you can share any materials about self-well-being trainings that you conducted. Like if you could send us the links and we can send it along with the summary on this webinar. If you have links to those trainings.
Currently, we don't have link because that was something which was developed in collaboration with, if I'm not wrong, UN Women and the protection team. So we have to check. If we find, then we will definitely give you that. Like we have the physical copies, but we are not so sure about the online one.
Okay. Thank you so much. Another question, given that also Elena, who has the global overview on how everything is going. So since you're here, Elena, have you seen this kind of participation happening in other countries, like other than what Emmanuel was speaking in Mozambique? Are you trying to create the same pattern in other countries, and how is it going?
Thanks, Noor. Yes, I mean, indeed, the WPP is a project that right now we have ongoing in 7 countries. I'm not going to lie, we have been, and the country team have been as I think any other program and activities by the funding crisis. So we have been trying to do all our best to keep the activities alive. And the project alive. This also has some prioritizing activities on what can be funded and what cannot be funded. But we have many ongoing trainings for women, including leadership training. So something that, as Emmanuel said, can help them increase their self-esteem. So something that has been ongoing in Bangladesh for a very long time. They are often the leaders of awareness sessions that are carried out with other women and girls in the sites where they work. We are piloting some new exciting initiative with some private organization that can donate us some materials to help them building livelihood groups and village and loan saving association, so they can sustain their family and their communities. So we have been trying to diversify our activities, also based on the priorities and the preferences shown by the women during our meetings and consultation. We have been also trying to increase our engagement with adolescent girls. So we have a lot of activities in Somalia right now that are specifically focusing on young girl and adolescent girl in terms of capacity building, supporting the leadership, as well as supporting them in through livelihood initiative. We have peer-to-peer dialogue also with community members that helps us to overcome some of the barriers that you also pointed out in terms of getting also acceptance from the broader community on the activities that we carried out with women and girls and other marginalized groups. So we have been yeah, we've been trying to going strong and still think out of the box to design activities that can support the women in sites.
Wonderful, thanks. So very briefly, if this is okay, we have a question from Rahman Zia saying, at what point during implementation should storytelling exercises be started?
At what point during implementation should storytelling exercises be started?
That for us.
Yes, for us.
Well,
Yeah.
Maybe if I can comment on this, I think it's an important takeaway also from Bangladesh in terms of even if there was no like formal training, as Namrata said, of the team during this exercise, this is a result of years of engagement with women and girls in these camps, with the women committee being set up, and obviously like the membership is revitalized often, but the trust that Emmanuel mentioned hasn't been built in a day. So I think that's also important to understand that me personally, I wouldn't necessarily put it as a first activity in a new project rollout. And I think the fact that the women were also open with Namrata in telling their stories and with our team in telling their stories, also the result of the fact that they trust the team, and it's a result of years of engagement in these camps.
Wonderful,
Yeah,
thanks.
but to add with Elena, I think just for a few seconds, I don't think there is a definite time for stories, because stories can be about anything, and you can do that at any given point of the project. I mean, all we are trying to share these stories of the beneficiaries, so it can be of anything at any time, just whenever you feel it's right.
Thank you very much.
Looking at it from top life cycle, I think the care maintenance stage, which and that depends on the context by context, but the maturity of the response is very vital, because again, to me, the most important thing here is gaining that trust. That does not come overnight. Once there's a displacement, I don't think people are eager to share their deals at that particular moment. The mindset of that survival, and whatever basic assistance can come their way. But later on, at a later stage in the response, I think that is when people are a little bit calmer, and they are accepting the reality to a certain extent. I think that's when it would be more feasible to have such engagement.
Thank you very much. So Ahmad would like to ask one more question, and then I'll ask the final question, and hopefully we'll be able to close this webinar on time, or maybe not. Ahmad, you can ask your question. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I would like to express my sincere admiration and gratitude to the Women Participation Projects and all women and girls who took part throughout the studying work and highlighting women's life histories, the challenges they have faced, and also the success they have achieved. It's truly inspiring the wider community. So my question is, and are there any specific training or skills that women are being taught within the project?
Your voice
Thank
was
you.
breaking, maybe because of the internet. Would you mind to repeat the question? Sorry.
Or maybe you can type it if your internet is not helping.
If I understood the question correctly, I think Hamad was asking about what are the specific skills that the women learn through the project. So maybe you want to give a bit of a overview of the other activities that you have been conducting with the women in Cox's Bazar.
The skills that went into creation of this project, I still don't get the question. But is that, Elena, the question is that he wants to know the skills that are required?
The skills that they're learning here. So
the women are learning,
experience.
participating in the WPP. So maybe you can give an overview of the activities that are
The skills.
done besides the storytelling.
Obviously one aspect is to build their confidence, and they are taking awareness sessions, they are participating in the coordination meeting, they are doing these door-to-door visits. So I think they are learning interpersonal communication and then communicating with a group. So that communication is one thing, public speaking is one thing. I think the skills that we emphasize too. And then, they are working for their community, supporting the community, especially the women. So leadership is there. We also provide them leadership training. Then another aspect is we really, really emphasize on capacity building. Like very recently, we have completed this DIDRR, disability inclusion, disaster risk reduction trainings. Then they will be receiving PSA training soon. So, all the community training that we plan for the community from site management sites, we always include WPP members. And other than that, we also focus on their skill building, like as we were saying in the story, tailoring, stitching, arts. Now they're learning arts too, and then various kind of things, skills, crafting skills, which they didn't knew in Myanmar, but which they have picked up from here, from this culture. So yeah, and we also focus on skill development.
I have a question here, Namrata, if that's okay. So after this exercise, did you get the chance to know how the community dealt with these stories of these specific women? So did they? I don't wanna answer in an answer. I want to see how it was for the women. Like once they shared their stories openly, how did the community take it? If you have information on this.
I really didn't know.
How the community took it once the pictures were shared.
Which pictures?
The storybook.
Oh, the storybook. So, for now, actually, it has, as we said before, we have shared it to the women who were, whose story we have shared. So we have shared with them. The books are in all the SMS office, and we have given to relevant partners. But because of the formatting of the book, we have not circulated it massively with the community, because our first priority was, as we said at the beginning of the presentation, to share with the external parties, to the world who doesn't know them. So now we are moving forward to how we can share them, in which format, so that the community will understand easily. But so far, we have not received any negative point. I mean, the volunteers, our SMS volunteers, and few other youths, they have seen the stories and they have really appreciated it. So far, no negative comments.
To respond to, I don't know what Namrata is saying. Back in 2019, I think there was a poetry book that was written with the support of DRC then, and that book was also circulated. The reaction from the community from such stories and single exercises, like the art work is not only for women but also youth. Recently we had some sort of exhibition where the some of the leaders, the local leaders were invited, and there's huge shared stories that are not very far from what is captured in the book. The pick from the community is the realization that indeed their voices can be heard if they spoke up.
Yeah.
Because afterwards we would see the increase in interest from the youth wanting to be part of the art initiative in Camp 11. So to me, I think for far too long, and as again I said, I was here in 2018. This was one of those responses where the community's voices and opinions were not taken into consideration at all stages of the response. I guess it's because it was an emergency and everyone was focused on providing what they thought the community needed. But over the years, I think they're beginning to realize and have realized that their opinions count and their stories must be heard. So such projects that help amplify the stories, I think it's much welcome. And so far, we have not seen any retributive reaction or attitude from the community to anyone who contributed to this. Hopefully, that remains the case. We will continue keeping our ears on the ground because, again, the book is in English. So maybe we will we will see different reaction once it's translated in a language that everyone understands. But we're hoping it is positive, and from what has been done so far, it has always indicated positive.
Thanks so much for sharing. So do you have anything to add before
From our side?
Ask them to go through that
Okay.
story, like that short summary.
All right. From our side, I think we'll, if it is to be taken as a closing statement, is to say thank you to the colleagues for giving us opportunity to share what we're doing. It motivates us, and we believe it is something that many will learn from. Study the book, and any feedback we are happy to receive, and also help circulate. And there is also, I think, a summary note of it that was shared of the art that I think will be circulated or is already circulated. So other than that, the other things is for us to learn and to see how to address. As I said when I was sharing the story of the lady whose daughter is in Malaysia, it leaves a lingering question in there. What can we do? Because sometimes it's easier if you have not encountered these realities. You can live on not knowing, in ignorance that this is a reality in the camp. But once you encounter such realities, and it then becomes a responsibility, a burden of conscience for you to do something about it. We will see maybe some of the stories that are still we are yet to publish. It could be stories that may require some sort of coordination to support, maybe through regular migration and all that. But yes, there are some of those concerns that emerged from these stories that need to be looked into beyond the pages. Then, over to you, Nu. We can't hear you.
Yeah, we cannot hear you, Noor, for some reason.
Is it better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I was thanking you for your time and effort and amazing initiative that you've done in Bangladesh. I'd also like to invite participants to answer a couple of questions I added to the poll in the chat. So the first one would be if they would like to work with art and storytelling in their context after this session. And then the second one, what would be the support, or if they need any additional support to be able to do so. So we will collect these information and add those to the summary and see what we can do as the Community Engagement Forum to make this easier to be replicated to other countries as well. Sorry for taking longer than 10 minutes, and thanks to everyone who attended. And I hope to see you in the next community coffee and chat sessions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Wow.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. That was super interesting. Bye-bye.
Yes. Hi, Pooja.
No problem. I was gonna say I love the color that you're wearing. It's very much like in line with the colors you have in the storybook, right? Was it intentional?
This one? No, it just
Yeah.
looks good on me.
It does look good. But you really rhyme with the banner that's behind you.
Oh, sorry.
The colors are almost the same as the banner behind you. So I thought you're trying to
Much.
mimic.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was.
That's amazing. So everyone is saying amazing, congratulations, thanks for your work. And again, like if something came out of this webinar, if someone or like many asked for a specific support based on this session, then we'll get in touch again. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Stop before. What's wait? I don't know.
Where is